Hi Gaurav, get to have you on campus and sitting since we are sitting in a university space, and we're sitting around students here. So a lot of the audience for this podcast will also be from the student community. Um, so the questions and the discussion is centered around that side. Uh, for for many of our students and the other audience who do not know, can we start beginning by unpacking the work that is happening that you do at Hotstar right now? Where does UX meet the entertainment industry, so to speak?
Definitely. Thank you for having me. I think it's been a great day. I feel super excited to be amongst the students and especially talking to you now. And to your question, so I run the Hotstar design team and research team. We're a set of people that look at the product design. We look at a lot of media design that is showcased on the product and how it appears on the product. We look at how people use it, what their behaviors are on the different platforms. So those are the two large teams that I take care of at Hotstar.
So Gaurav, a lot of my young students and a lot of students across the nation, at least world, I don't know, find it very hard to relate how does the design process lead into design. And actually, that's a wrong question because they are not separate, but they are framed separately. So, how can for the audience, can you kind of spell it out for me? Like, why is research so important for you as a practitioner, and why is research so important for the organization itself?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the design process as such, like the way we like to kind of refer to it is like the design flow. And different projects have different, time that they can afford us. And what we do is tailor our approach to a project based on how much time do we have to attack it. And one of the things that we have to consider here is that every time we do designs for a product, like it's an iteration. So you might as well get like a short stab at it, a small stab at it. But you know that another bigger stab is coming later, right? These are living, breathing organisms, that continue to grow with time. So you don't have to necessarily get it right the first time, but you have to meet a certain bar. Now, when you have to be able to meet certain objectives and that certain bar that you've set for yourself as a design team, you need to be able to follow a few things, right? So let's say one of the things that's very sacrosanct for us is creativity, absolutely new original thinking, and testing, right? User testing. So putting what you make in the hands of the users is probably the only true scientific force that tells you what you're doing is relevant and correct or not. So let's say even if we have a situation where we've got a very short timeline, we do these thing called the floor test, where we've got people on the floor who mimic our user cohorts, and we put our designs in those hands. And these are non-engineering or non-tech people in general who would perfectly mimic our users, and we quickly find time to be able to gather insights from these cohorts. And every time we do have time, we go do primary research, secondary research, and we figure out what's happening in the world, what are the opportunities that lie in front of us, and what are the problems we're solving, right? Once we are fully aware of the user behaviors and, like how other products are being used by users, we then kind of, get the lay of the land and, start our design process from those insights. And then we take it ahead, and then again, like we come back to testing, and that's when we put products in the hands of users.
So, Gaurav, before we sat for the interview, you were mentioning some of our students saying internship was like a culture shock for them. Now, one of the things I keep hearing from students who come back from internship is like, sir, ये design process के लिए industry के पास time नहीं होता है. Industry doesn't follow design process, and I can't even begin to explain to them how wrong that concept is, to even come back thinking that industry doesn't follow design process. And actually internship should not be teaching them that. But Could you, so for their sake, could you kind of spell out, like in a space like Hotstar, which is extremely competitive in the entertainment industry, and yet you are saying that in some projects or in some situations we do primary research. So within that, and there are also deadlines, right? There are rollout deadlines, there are pressures from the top. So how do you hold on, and why do you hold on to that sanctity of research?
Because what it gives you is the truth. At the end of the day, it's about, are you creating art, or are you creating solutions to problems, and are you creating value? Every time you're trying to create solutions to problem or creating net new value, you have to be able to find the truth. And while creativity in general is a very good way of attacking the truth, it's not the way to know whether this is the truth or not. And that only comes out when you put things in the hands of the users and observe them, right? And that is, it's religion for us. In fact, like, even if we don't have time, we never shy away from knowing that even if we don't have time this time, we will go ahead and take a stab at it in a proper way. Yes, the design process, if we want to use that word, then that varies from project to project. But the essence of that process essentially is like, okay, like I want to be able to do the best design work that I can. And then I want to be able to know if this design work actually honestly works for people or not. And these are the two things that we always aim for, with an eye on the outcome of, like, okay, like at the end of the day, there is a certain outcome that this needs to deliver. There are certain goals, right? Are those goals being met or not? Sometimes it happens that things that are counterintuitive end up delivering goals, right? Sometimes it happens that things that research was pointing towards and we were not able to do not end up attacking those goals as well as they could have if we had done proper research. But also, what we need to understand is that when we take design process and we make time as a constant, time as a luxury available to us, it makes the process dishonest. When you include the process and time as a very critical component in it, it makes the process more wholesome. So I think the shift that people feel when they go from a place where time was given, was time was abundant, and then they go to an environment where time is not as abundant.
And it's running parallelly.
Yes, and that's there the shock comes. The tension with my mind, in shock.
It's a good way of putting it, Gaurav.
But
So it's a time shock. We'll tell them next time, right? As Gaurav, I think you might have to. We might need to hurry up as the interview is. We are getting into evening, but I'm not letting you go right now, uh, because what fascinates me at this stage, because we began as into what you do right now and uh, how you approach the workflow now. But where does this passion come from? I mean, what seeded it? What has been the journey that is where you're looking at perfection from this point of view?
yeah, I think it just started from my for me personally. It started from my college days where I was not able to find a lot of like relatability with a lot of subjects, and that they felt like they were speaking a different language. And somehow I was able to design for my cultural festivals and my tech festivals and all the work that I did there. Like, I was able to relate to a lot. And then I started peeling the layers and I saw that, hey, like this creativity can also become like very objective driven, and then I can create certain outcomes from it and I can make things better. And then it started giving me a sense of creation of value. And I feel like it's like tasting blood. Like, if somebody is able to create value for other people, I think somewhere deep
Once
down
you
it's
do
in
it, you
us.
want to do it more. You do
Yes,
it better.
it's deep down in us as human beings that you want to be able to create value for other people.
Yeah, but it's nicely intertwined, right? Because when we often talk about creating value, And to an outsider, to the design ecology, it might sound a little vague, but a simple thing like making it better, like that's what you said before you use the word value. I think that's such a simple way of looking at it, because when you just make it better, you do add value to it.
Well, yeah.
And that better thing can then go ahead and have its own growth impact. So what future directions? Yeah, yeah.
I think like the states very. I love consumer products. I've always designed for consumer products, products that I can put in the hands of people, especially products at scale. And I love that space. I want to continue to be in that space. And I love finding people on the street and kind of putting my prototype in their hands and then figuring out what they have to say about it. And I feel like the space is growing, and it's going to grow. And if you look at the world of video and the world of technology is starting to come together in very interesting ways. People are now starting to consume, art and content in ways they hadn't done before, with new paradigms in place. So I'm really excited about how um, art or films or media in the hands of users will enable the users themselves to kind of be a part of it. And what we call it inside in our teams is, how do we make content to be lean in from lean back, like how you'd sit on a sofa and lean back and watch it. What would it mean to make you lean in? We're exploring some of those ways, and hopefully people, when they see those things, will be excited about it too.
That's the power of storytelling in that way also, right? Yeah. Thank you, Vishal.